I got a lot to talk about today. It's going to be kind of hard to get into it, but I think we have to get into it. But before we get into it, I just want to give another reminder out there, and I'm going to keep talking about this. I know the mainstream media won't discuss it. Oh, God, no. We can't actually talk about a 15-year-old girl and several other children. At least 94 of them we know died. God knows how many how many other states are involved in this. The media doesn't want to touch that. Oh, God, no. Can't talk about Benghazi either. Oh, God, no. But we can sure talk about them cows. Because Cliven Bundy used the N-word. Negro. Well, there are so many angles to this little, what started out to be grazing fees and turtles and this, and it just has just built into this. This is a perfect storm, man. It's a perfect stew of anything and everything that is going wrong with this country. It's going to be like, when you're pressing atoms together and they explode, I guess in that nuclear fusion or whatever, hell, I don't know, combined into this war, and it just keeps getting more and more and more and more and more. I mean, eventually the pressure's got to be so much that it's just going to, it's going to frickin' explode. But yeah, we can't get anybody to talk about a 15-year-old girl held in a room left to die with no medical attention because her parents dared to disagree with the snot-nosed little brat 7 months out of frickin' medical school. So she's got to be removed from the family. Well, there was a protest. The American Psychiatric Association, Mind Freedom, is organizing the protests against the American Psychiatric Association. First of all, a lot of this psychiatric crap, I don't buy a lot of it. Some of these guys, a lot of these, far too many of them are quacks. Do I believe in there is some psychology? Yeah, of course. The psychology isn't going to work for every single buddy. They get themselves all trapped up into a book that somebody, took an acid trip, wrote it down. Oh, look at this. This is great. Whoa, this is, oh. So that's the greatest thing, and they got to adopt it as if they did it themselves. Most of that crap, they're talking about themselves. And most of these shrinks, they got shrinks themselves. I mean, what the hell? Your best shrink is you. You need a psychologist? You need a psychiatrist? You need an advisor? Look in the friggin' mirror. You're the only one that knows you. That really knows you. And any lie that you tell, you're not telling to anybody else but yourself. You got a problem with? Well, you got to deal with it. And just with this, you see a problem? The state is kidnapping kids and throwing them into the welfare department where they're pushed and prodded and slapped because they won't obey. That's right. She wants to see her parents. She wants to see her doctor. She'd like to go back to taking those vitamins that was helping her. She wants to walk again. She wants to talk again. Jesus Christ. I'd disobey you too. Hello? But if you want to protest these jackwagons, Sunday, May 4th, 12 p.m., 34th and 11th, across from the Jacob Javits Center. Jacob Javits. And the other one is there's another one in Framingham, where Justina is going to be housed. That's the Wayside facility in Framingham. That's at 1 to 4 this Sunday in Framingham, Massachusetts. And, of course, at the Massachusetts State House, again this Sunday, bring a stuffed animal to the Massachusetts State House. So there's a lot going on in Massachusetts. And I hate saying that word. They need to change the name of that goddamn state. It's too many. But anyway, if you can make it to Framingham, if you can make it to Boston, the Massachusetts State House, if you can make it to New York City May 4th, make it there. Force the media to actually do their goddamn job. I mean, they can talk about cows and turtles and Negroes, but they can't talk about children being kidnapped from their parents, from the state, so people can get grants, so people can have money to go out and buy new boats. Look at the economy. It's great. It's booming. Look at all the jobs that we created. Yeah, by stealing kids and abusing them. Gee, I hope that new car is worth it. We can't talk about them. Well, see, this is what I don't understand. I mean, what's going on in this Bundy Ranch? Now, what's going on there? I mean, is there a fight there to be fought? Yeah. There's a lot of fights that are going on down there at that Bundy Ranch. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of people pulling from a lot of different directions and a lot of other people coming in. They're pushing. They're pulling. I just sense that this is going to be the catalyst to something that could potentially be very big. I mean, this is history book big. Can we avoid it? I think the American people can figure it out. Whether the politicians, the so-called leaders, can, well, that's a whole other goddamn story. Will the American people allow the so-called leaders to get away with it? Again, a whole other story. But now the Bundy Ranch, and I was watching some clips on Glenn Beck yesterday, and he was talking about his interview that he had with this Cliven Bundy. Now, everybody's jumping off the Cliven Bundy bandwagon. He's a racist now. I don't want to have this discussion, but it is a very important discussion. I think it must be discussed. And I think that's really what is actually missing. And it's the actual discussion, which includes listening and paying attention, not hearing what you want to hear and then assume and accuse the rest, which far too many people do, both left and right, human beings. It's lazy. Now, when I heard, but just what he said, and I'm going to read it, of what he said, so you know what I'm talking about. I didn't really find it as racist as what the whole world is exploding themselves over on. I understood. I was trying to listen to figure out what the hell he was talking about, and I think I did figure out what the hell, or how I took it. I didn't really have to think and discuss all, for hours. I understood what he was talking about. I just don't think that he worded it all that well. I think he's got two broken left-handed tongues and tripped all over him damn self. We're going to get into what I mean by that. I'm not sticking up for anybody, and I'm not putting anybody down. I just see things how I see things. I'm looking at this objectively. I'm seeing all the angles. And let me tell you, there's angles involved in this everywhere. All the things that are going wrong with this country, corruption, racism, phony racism, thisism, thatism, EPA, Bureau of Land Management, all these government agencies, everybody's in charge. Crooked senators, crooked governors, crooked sheriffs, everybody's on the take. Everybody wants. Everybody's greedy. Everybody's got to have the land. There's enough there for everybody if everybody just shut up and go their other way. But this is much more than cows and turtles and wind farms, and now it's got racism involved in it. Which, I mean, now Glenn Beck had a conversation with him, and he got a much better sense and a much better feeling of who this Cliven Bundy is than I did. So that's why I can't stick up for anybody, and I can't put anybody down on it. I can just give my take on all that I'm seeing. Is this Cliven Bundy a little bit off his frickin' rocker? Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I think it wasn't that difficult to pick up on that as first interviews. You didn't really know where he was going, what he was saying sometimes, and then he would, but. And now he comes out and he's talking about the Negro. Well, I think I understood what he was trying to say. I don't think he articulated it as well, but then when you listen to what Glenn Beck had to say when he had a personal conversation, so then you have to kind of wonder, what is this guy, how deep is this dude, man? Is everybody taking it the wrong way? Sometimes it happens. People love, they hear the word Negro. A white man say the word Negro, and now all of a sudden, good God, everybody's got to run from him. Oh, God, he's a racist. Now, I did not have that conversation with Glenn Beck. But according to him, and I mean, Glenn Beck is not a person that I would suspect is a big fat liar, pants on fire, and has no reason to do so. But on the surface of what I heard, now this is his words. This is him. This is Cliven Bundy. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. And in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there was always at least a half dozen sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, meaning welfare, so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves, picking cotton and having a family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. Now, that by itself, and the reason I'm bringing this stuff up, look, I'm not going on any side here. I'm just objective observer here. If this was said by a black man, no one would have one damn thing to say about it. Matter of fact, this sounds like something I have heard black people say. How I took what he was talking about. Now, if you go back in the 30s, or after World War II, in the 40s when they were all the Jews were being rescued from their prison camps and ghettos and what have you not. Well, when they went home, they found a home that wasn't theirs anymore. They still had nowhere to go. Nor were they treated all that well. They were, free, but were they really free? When the blacks were first freed, were they really free? Not in a lot of places. Some places there might have been some. But in a lot of places, no. There were Negro laws. They couldn't go to this part. They couldn't go to that part. The kids couldn't go to this school. They couldn't vote, even though they had a constitutional right to do so. Couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So was there some of that? Yeah. But in today, I'm sure there probably are people that feel that way. Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't know where it is. I'm not saying that I'm naive and saying that it doesn't exist. I've just not seen it firsthand. But when you listen to some of this stuff, I mean, they become, when they're on government subsidy. So now what do? Well, they abort their young, which statistics do show that black people are, well, black women, if you break down the color, why do we got to break down the color? We know there's roughly 1.6 million a year abortions in this country. Why do we have to break it down by color? I don't know, but we do. But the majority of them are black. Black women get more abortions than any other color. Which maybe if we stop focusing on the stupid color and start focusing on the goddamn individual once in a while, we might all be a lot better off. But we got to put everybody in groups, and then we go out and give speeches about inequality, segregation, racism, discrimination. But yet here you are putting everybody in all these groups. Well, how can you be integrated when everybody's segregated? They put their young men in jail. Well, there's a lot of black people in jail, not for nothing, but there are. Look, I didn't arrest them. I didn't have anything to do with it. I just know the numbers. And they never learned how to pick cotton. Now, I did not take that as, I know what he's trying to say. He meant a job. Do some kind of a craft, some kind of something. Farm this and that. I think he should have used the word job. Now, if he really meant that, again, I don't have no idea what's in this man's heart. I can't determine what is in anybody's heart other than mine. And even then, it's goddamn questionable. Sometimes I've got to question myself. We all do. Just the way it is. But how I understood, it just seemed like, to me, that what he meant by pick cotton was a job. And I've often wondered, were they better off as slaves, picking cotton, again, having a steady job. Yeah. And having a family life, until you're sold. And doing things, or they're better off under government subsidy. They didn't get more freedom, they got less freedom. Well, in a sense, yeah. They, I guess there are some people in some community somewhere who would probably agree with that. Yeah, we got less freedom. Yeah, I don't have to show up to the Massa House every day, go out in the fields. But am I really free? Being homeless? I don't know. I guess that is ultimate freedom. But I think he was trying to make a point. Did they really get their freedom? Are they really free? They're still stuck in these ghettos and this and that. I think the guy's just a little ignorant. I think that's what's missing in here. And I think I didn't have the conversation with Glenn Beck. I wasn't there. I can only go by what his words are. But I think there's that his ignorance right there when he said pick cotton. I just think he's a little ignorant, and he doesn't exactly know how to really communicate what he's trying to say very well. Maybe somebody in the family should say, dude, no more press conferences. Shut up. Evidently, this Cliven Bundy yelled at some staff members of Glenn Beck's show. Had one of his editors call, and he chewed him out and screamed at him and hollered at him and yada, 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 called him all kinds of stuff. And evidently this particular guy is like the nicest guy in the world. Of course they all are. Then he calls up Glenn Beck and apologizes and says, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of all kinds of stuff, blah, 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 blah. Glenn says, well, I want to talk about your faith. Evidently, Cliven Bundy is a Mormon. Well, so is Glenn Beck. So he wanted to cover the angle on faith. Instead of talking about cows and turtles and snipers, he wanted to just simply cover the faith part. Well, I guess they were doing this, and then he wanted to talk about disarming the government. Well, that's what freaked Glenn Beck out. Now again, when I heard that, I understood how I took it. Maybe I'm listening. Maybe I'm not saying that I understand what exactly what is in this man's heart. Again, I wasn't in the conversation, but I think I know what he's talking about. And he does. If he knew it, if he'd be able to articulate it. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, again, I am left to interpret because I wasn't privy to the actual conversation. But how I took that part. Now I lost my goddamn train of thought. He was talking about Glenn Beck and. Oh, God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Don't you hate it when this happens? There's so many things going on with this. There's something else pops into your head, and you just explode, and that's what's going to happen down there. It is going to explode. Maybe a shot of grog will bring me back. Oh, there it does. See, grog does it all the time. He wanted to have the government disarmed. Well, I think I know what he's talking about and how I took it and how I believe. And what I actually believe. Yeah. The Bureau of Land Management should not have guns. The EPA should not have guns. The goddamn post office should not have guns. These agencies, Social Security does not need weapons. They do not need, come on. Look, you got people that are doing something, some kind of fraud, some kind of this. You need people arrested? Okay, well, they've got, you've got city police if you need it in town. You've got county mounties if you need something in the county outside of the city. You've got state troopers. You need something in the state. If you need to go bigger than that, you got FBI. But now you don't need to do that. What do? They just sit behind the desk and they got these little, calculators and their bean counters and they're on their computers. They're filling out paperwork and signing things and going to the copy machine, looking at that pretty secretary's legs as she crosses them at her desk, and it drives you nuts and you can't do anything about it. You spill your coffee all over yourself, now you're a fool. Then all of a sudden the red light starts to flash and sirens go off, and everybody puts on their Delta Force commando gear. We got to go after the Bundy Ranch. Bring your dogs, bring your snipers, bring your tasers, bring your guns. Yeah, but what about that 15-year-old girl that's being left in a room to die with no medication, no doctors? She ain't worth as much as these cows. Jesus Christ almighty. But that's how, I didn't have that conversation with Beck. And it's so easy, as soon as you say a word, everybody, that's a code word, now we got it, they're like the plague. Now, is there more going to come out with this guy? Is there really more going to come out with this guy probably saying racist stuff? I don't know. Maybe he's giving a sermon or something. I don't know. I didn't really take it as wishing that black people were slaves. I did not take it that way. I'm not out looking to not take it anyway. I didn't take it in any direction. I've never really been so much, Cliven Bundy, the next for president. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not that way. But this war that's going on down there, I believe, is a war over everything. I think this is where it's going to start here. This is where something big is either going to happen, or we're going to figure out that what we're doing is wrong and then change. And you can change a lot of stuff overnight. Boom, done. Will we? No. Not unless everybody's been paid. And what really bothers me about this is, I mean, I know the right is very quick to disown their own if there's any kind of hint of racism. Okay, fine, I know we're uber sensitive over race. Okay, fine. The reason why is because, was there a lot of racism in this country? Yeah, there's a racism in any country, every country. There's been racism since human beings were different races, and there's always going to be racism. You can't get around it. The amount of racism, however, this is the problem. When all you hear is racism everywhere, that's all you hear. So when you hear one word, Negro, immediately racist. Instead of trying to figure out what the hell is really deep inside this dude's heart. Now, again, is he a little off his rocker? I think so. He's a little, maybe it's been on the ranch for so long, out there on the range, and just, I don't know. Who the hell knows? Got range fever. I don't know. But so what? Give me a human being that isn't off their frickin' rocker. I want to meet this super being. Now, again, I did not have that conversation with Glenn Beck, so it's hard for me to really say other than what I heard him say out of his own mouth. And then he tried to explain it, and all he did was screw it up even worse. He doesn't need to be having any goddamn press conferences anyway. I mean, look, everybody's got that Kim Kardashian fever. Got to get out there, like Kim Kardashian, and get my own goddamn reality show. Jesus Christ almighty. But there are a lot of things that's going on here with this. And what really bothers me is, now the left is going to use this racism. Look at this. Everybody on the right is a racist. Anybody who supports Bundy is a racist. So now you got all these announcers and everybody on TV, the talking heads and all the think tankers, and everybody's just running away. Don't connect me with the racists. Don't do that. Look at me, everybody. See, Cliven Bundy's bad. Oh, boo. This is the problem. This is another problem in this country. We don't actually sit down and actually converse with each other. Maybe ask him questions. Did you really mean this? Did you really mean that? Do you really mean? No, he was trying to make a point. And what happened with the Jews in all over Europe and in Russia, they were treated very, very nicely, very well. Yeah, they were free from the frickin' gas and the ovens. But were they really, really free? I don't know. He was talking about a trip that he took in Vegas where he's seen all these black people hanging out in the porch, doing nothing. Well, maybe, again, he's got some ignorance issues. I think he's a little ignorant. Maybe again he's been out on the range too long. They can't get cable TV out there. I don't know. But he does have some ignorance in him. So when he sees black people hanging out on the porch, well, white people hang out on their porch too, especially if they got a day off and it's frickin' summer and it's 180 goddamn degrees. And the ice cream man just came by, so you're sitting on the porch eating your ice cream. It's a summer day. But he sees it as the kids have nothing to do. I mean, this is how people go to war over things like this. Instead of, trying to figure out exactly what's really being said, they immediately take offense to it. And then if one person says, oh, racism, then everybody, oh, racism, what? Run! God. Well, when I heard him say what he said, look, it wasn't, it didn't take me very long, his first interview. I did notice a guy that was, a little bit, maybe he's old, a little slower, whatever. But when he said this, I didn't really take it as racism. Like he wished that black people. Now, if he just said, yeah, I want black people to go back into the plantations. Okay, now we got some alarms to set off. But he didn't say that. He was making a point. Yeah, you got your freedom from your master, but are you really free? You're stuck in a ghetto? That's the point he was trying to make. Maybe if he got out of the goddamn range once in a while and found out that maybe he wasn't in an actual ghetto, but what he saw on television. Again, this is his ignorance. I just think the guy's ignorant. I don't think he's racist. I just think he's, he needs a little educations. He needs to take a vacation and go tour around the frickin' planet once in a while. Go around the country. Stop watching your stupid Kim Kardashian shows, reading those goddamn magazines. Actually go out and experience it. So there's that element. I don't find this man as an actual racist. I don't see that in him. Now, if I'm wrong, again, I did not have a personal conversation with him. Evidently, he was a jerk to more than one of Beck's staffers. And Glenn Beck just had enough. Now, the guy was a jerk to the staff. Okay, you can deal with that level. That doesn't make him a racist because he's a jerk. Just makes him a jerk. What his problem is, I don't know. I'm not taking any sides on this because there's too many sides. I'm just like sitting back and watching all of the elements as they come together. And there's going to be more. Everybody's getting involved. But I don't like as soon as somebody says something, immediately racist, go away. This is a conversation that needs to be had. But first, you need to have the conversation in your own head. When you're listening to people speaking and you think, oh, immediately racism, okay, well, let me continue listening to find out, is it really racism or is there a point somewhere? Was I not there at the very beginning and missed what he said before? Maybe I might be able to put it in the proper context. But no. They hear certain words and boom, immediately. General quarters, all hands man your battle stations. Jesus, God. But when it's not over the Negro. It's not over grazing fees. Not over turtles, wind farms. This is all about greed. Everything that's going wrong with this country today. Greed. Wall Street. Political corruption. We've got that in there. We've got racism now and phony racism. Whether this guy is a real racism or not, well, he's been dubbed now as a racist, so that's just the way it is. I didn't really take it that way. I'm not on his side. I'm not off his side. Other ranchers I know are pissed off that they got to pay their grazing fees, and he refuses to. Well, does he have a point? Now he's been to court a million times and he's lost every time. But does he have an actual point? If they've been grazing on this land since whenever, why all of a sudden do I got to pay these grazing fees? Why does the federal government have this land in the first place? And why isn't the state claiming, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing on this land? You can't have this. Well, there's this law and that law. And the problem is there's too many laws that say too many things that there isn't one law. So you can find one law that says it this way, and you can also find another law that says it that way. Now, what do? Well, whoever's got the most money is going to win. Again, do I think this Cliven Bundy is probably a jerk? Probably got some, ignorance issues? Okay, yeah. But a racist? I'm not quite ready to go that direction yet. I just think it's a combination of ignorance and maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's he's got the Kim Kardashian flu and he wants to get his own goddamn reality program. I don't know. Now, if there's other stuff that comes out that clearly says that that he wants to see black people back into plantations, then we got something to really, really talk about. But I know what he's saying. Are they really better off? If you go to a ghetto and you see these black people and these kids, they're skipping school, they got nowhere to go, and if they do go to school, they're not going to learn very much anyway. They go home, there's nothing at home. Their mama's gone. Nobody knows where, daddy. Nobody's known who daddy's ever been. Mama may be at work. Maybe she's doing drugs. Maybe she's this. Maybe she's that. See, that's what he's associating with what he saw. But in Vegas, there isn't, what he saw on television. I just think the guy's a little bit old, I think he's just a little bit senile and getting things confused. I'm not sticking up for him. I'm not apologizing for him. I'm not rationalizing his behavior. I mean, I'm just going by how I see him. I mean, what is he, 70, 80 something? Sometimes it happens. Guy's just been out. I think it's just ignorance, and I don't really sense the. Fine, he's a jerk. Okay, that's fine. There's a lot of people that are jerks. There's racists that are jerks. There's non-racists that are jerks. There's all different kinds of jerks. And anybody can be a jerk at any time they want to be. But as far as an actual racist, I'm not ready to go there yet. If there's more information that comes out, okay, fine. Then I guess I just don't have any choice. I mean, it is what it is. But I do think that we pull that racism trigger far too quickly. That's my point. We don't need to be labeling everybody racist. And both sides do it. It's not just one. I mean, the right does it because they think if they still got that mentality too. That if they come out and say, oh, he's a racist, then everybody will think, well, then he can never be a racist because he just pointed to this guy to be a racist. So everybody's going to vote for him now because he's not the racist. This guy is. Well, that's not how it really works. Racism is in your heart. You can say all day long that you are or you're not. It doesn't mean that you are or you are not. I don't know. I just think that what's going on down there is a war that is going. I think it's going to be the trigger. I think it's going to be the trigger to something big. Of everything that's going wrong. It's all right down there.